This isn't normal, guys. This is not normal at all that the United States of America has corporatist, globalist billionaires meeting in a mansion in an exclusive enclave of New York, deciding who will be the president of a country of 92 million people on the other side of the world. That's very unusual. And who was in the room and who was making these calls to you? Did you too receive a call from overseas, like Charlie Kirk was alleged to have received? Patrick Bet, Star of David here. So where do we know Patrick Bet David? Well, I'll pull up his wiki. He's known for, allegedly, a multi-level marketing scheme that netted him hundreds of millions of dollars. He's about a year older than your humble host. He looks like he's 20 years older, if I do say so myself. Maybe I'm wrong. American businessman, conservative. That's the word conservative is doing a lot of work there, ladies and gentlemen. Media personality, author, and podcaster, founder of Valuetainment Media. Valuetainment was the name of his company that hosted his multi-level marketing campaign. He has interviewed some big people. That was obviously Kobe Bryant before the helicopter incident. He founded PHP Agency, a multi-level company. They did life insurance, financial services. There were a lot of investigations into this company after the fact. And they, I'm not going to suggest it was anything other than an honorable company, Mr. Bet David. But a lot of people differed in their investigations. He was born in Iran back in 1970, not 1870. He's not that old. He looks like he's that old, but he's not that old. He was born in 1978, and then they left during the Iraq-Iran War. So when he was about 10 years old, he moves to the United States. He enrolls in the Army after high school, ends up in the 101st, and yada, yada, yada. The rest is history. He ends up at one point, according to him, as a bodyguard for a Coke dealer. Not Coca-Cola, ladies and gentlemen. That's not the type of Coke I'm talking about. And goes on to found this agency, sells it, I think, for like $250 million plus that he earned, or they maybe earned on that. And then the investigations came. Daily Beast investigated, highlighted the company's revenue, relied heavily on recruitment fees, including a $150 training fee and $15 monthly fees from agents rather than project sales alone. They likened it to a lottery where most participants lost money. MLM attorney Douglas Brooks argued the structure disproportionately benefited top recruiters. YouTuber Coffeezilla did a detailed investigation and interviewed Mr. Bet David. Presented SEC filings showing the majority of agents earned little to no income, but he walked away with a bunch of money. And then he launched the podcast in 2020, and he even bought a minority stake in the New York Yankees and indicated he wanted to jump into other ventures. Well, okay, so he's a multi-level marketing guy. He served a couple of years, maybe 3 years in the military. Hosts a podcast, which is why it was weird when we see headlines like this, because you would think with a headline like this, you would have somebody with deep foreign policy experience, someone who had been in Iran for decades, knew the terrain, knew the lay of the land, knew the politics. No, not at all. Not according to the Times of Israel. They need Patrick Bet David. That's the leader Iran needs. The Iranian opposition does not suffer from a lack of hashtags or exiles with microphone. Suffers from a shortage of nerve. Leadership against a regime built on terror, prisons, execution squads. Does not come from think tanks in Beverly Hills or panels in Davos. Comes from people who understand pressure, discipline, risk, consequence. That is why multi-level market company and professional podcaster Patrick Bet David is the figure who actually fits the moment Iran is entering. What? Huh? I know he's a hack for our greatest ally, but short of that, what? It was just such a weird pick. Such a weird pick. Unless you think this is just one guy running off on the mouth in the Times of Israel. No, friends. They actually approached him about this. They actually asked him to do this. This is from the Jack Neal podcast. Jack Neal runs a good show.
30 days before the U.S. and Israel bombed Tehran, the Times of Israel ran a piece by Patrick Bet David.
I think I'm going to have to do this without music. Let me back it up. Just read. I'll read it out loud. 30 days before the U.S. and Israel bombed Tehran, the Times of Israel ran a piece why Patrick Bet David is the leader Iran needs. Have those ideas been entertained by any serious players in your life? We had extensive conversations, says Patrick Bet David, last July when we were in the Hamptons. Oh, there's a lot of interesting meetings going on in the Hamptons last July and August. Recall, ladies and gentlemen, this is where Charlie Kirk was confronted by supposed friends in a heated exchange that involved allegedly a call from our greatest ally's prime minister. Well, it turns out that wasn't the only important meeting taking place in the Hamptons that summer. Turns out there was another important meeting. They were there to pick the leader of Iran. Oh, are those two meetings connected by chance? I took a lot of heat when I told Julian Dory that I thought Charlie Kirk might have been killed over the war in Iran. It's a little weird that they're having these two conversations back to back. They're talking to Patrick Bet David about taking over Iran, a podcaster who ran a multi-level marketing insurance company and got rich doing so, about taking over a country of 92 million people that he hasn't lived in since the 80s, when The Cosby Show and MASH were on TV, before Seinfeld premiered, when the cast of Friends was like in diapers. I got to back it up a little bit because they're talking faster than I can read. I got calls saying, do you have any interest? Would I be able to change the economy, be a glue between the States and Europe, and open up the market? Would a 92 million people could start doing business, creating jobs, economy? Yeah, I think I could do that. But as the guy to be the leader doing that, I got 4 kids, 14, 12, 10, 4 years old. Do I want to put them through this right now? No, I would have to be there. I would need to live there. This isn't like a Zoom president. You get that job, has to be you're moving there. We talked about it probably for 2 or 3 months. 2 or 3 months. And then at the end of the day, I said, that's just not a job I want to do right now. Why is there a meeting in the Hamptons to decide who will be the president of Iran? Does anybody ask that question as a result of this podcast with Jack Neal and Patrick Bet David? Why is the future leader of Iran being decided off the coast of New York? What's this whole Iranian campaign really about in light of this revelation? That we're going to put a puppet podcaster as president of Iran? Country of 92 million people. There's no one in Iran capable of being president. There's no one who's lived there. There's no one who knows the people. Yeah, knows where the men's room is, so to speak. Speaks the language, understands the cultural references, lived through the regime. It's a little strange that all this was taking place in the Hamptons. I'd be very curious whose house in the Hamptons, Mr. Bet David, this conversation took place in. And who was in the room and who was making these calls to you? Did you too receive a call from overseas, like Charlie Kirk was alleged to have received? Guys, this is the host of tomorrow's debate. This is supposed to be the impartial moderator of tomorrow's debate. A guy who was approached the month before Charlie Kirk was approached and pressured. And then those conversations took place for 2 or 3 months. Well, July to August, August to September, September to October. You know what happened in September in the midst of this 2 to 3 months? Charlie Kirk was killed. And the conversations were still going on. It raises the obvious question whether there was any connection between these two meetings. Any connection at all? Is this why Charlie Kirk was being hustled? Is this why you were being approached? And does anybody have heartburn about this? Imagine if there was a meeting off the coast of, or in Nice, France. Some rich people from France, from Italy, Cyprus, Monaco. They're meeting in Nice, France, right on the coast. Some billionaire's house right there. It's a rich place, by the way. And they're deciding who's going to be the next president of the United States. And the guy they're choosing is a podcaster from Poland. He left the United States in 1988, 1989. George H.W. Bush was still president. He served in a foreign military. He served in the Polish military. He was in an elite unit there at the Polish military. He opened a Polish company, sold it for hundreds of millions of Polish dollars. He bought into a local Polish soccer club, the most famous Polish soccer club in all of sports. And they're courting him. They're bringing him in, and they're saying, hey, Mr. So-and-so, we would like you to agree to be the next president of the United States. How as an American are we feeling about this right now? Why don't we get a say in who is our next president? Why do we have to have some group of billionaires in another country getting together and kind of cutting up our political future? As Americans, we get kind of numb to this reality, but this isn't normal, guys. This is not normal at all that the United States of America has corporatist, globalist billionaires meeting in a mansion in an exclusive enclave of New York, deciding who will be the president of a country of 92 million people on the other side of the world. That's very unusual. This should chill us to the core. We should be disturbed by this revelation. We should be very concerned going forward that this could happen to us, or maybe it does happen to us. Because we have this nasty habit of electing presidents, and all of a sudden they don't represent our interests at all. They seem to be operating at the behest of foreign government leaders. And we say, how does this happen? How does this happen? This guy campaigned in these United States. He promised us all these wonderful things like jobs will return to the United States, money will return to the United States, immigration will reverse. We're going to bring manufacturing back. Inflation will come down. The price of fuel will come down. We're not going to be involved in any more foreign wars. And then he gets in office, and all of a sudden, none of that happens. And all of a sudden, he's saying, well, we're going to give 600,000 student visas to China, and we're going to increase the number of H-1B visas so that foreigners can compete against American entrepreneurs and engineers and architects and job owners and business owners. We're going to leave them out. The American worker is going to lose. We're going to bring in foreign people. And we're going to go pick a war with a country of 92 million people, a proud people that frankly never lost a war. We're going to, and by the way, when we pick this war, when we start this war, we understand that they have the ability to shut down one of the most important commercial channels of waterway in the world. And we have no plan to stop them. No plan at all to stop them. If they decide to shut down this very important pinch point of commercial waterway, we're just going to have to take it. We're just going to have to accept that this is reality. That means our fuel prices are going to go up. Our fuel reserves are going to go down. Our standard of living is going to go down. Inflation is going to go up. It's almost like our president was picked off the coast of France. And that they put some sort of foreign operative in our White House, like they were planning to do with Iran. Put a foreign operative in their White House, their version of white, a yellow house, green house. I don't know what color their house is. But wherever the president of Iran lives, there was going to be a fundamentally American human being running it. And I guess they were just going to have to take it. Do you think Patrick Bet-David has the interest of the Iranian people at heart, or is he operating more for the interest of corporate billionaires who put him in power? Ultimately, he turned it down, but it raises the obvious question, who else did they approach? Who do they have in the tank? What is the plan? If there is a war of totality inside the cozy confines of the proud country of Iran, who do they have lined up to take over? And how will that person be selected? Will they be selected in a billionaire's mansion in the Hamptons? For those of you who don't reside in the United States, the Hamptons is one of the most exclusive enclaves in the entire country. The starting point to get in the neighborhood is an 8-figure proposition. It's $10 million plus to get a decent house there. This is not an urban area. This is rich. This is where the billionaires play. This is where they vacation. That's who's moderating tomorrow's debate. That's who's moderating tomorrow's debate. So when we wake up tomorrow and we tune in the debate at 9 a.m. God's time, Central Daylight Time, 10 a.m. on the East Coast, 8 a.m. on the West Coast, 9 a.m. in Mountain Country, when we tune in tomorrow, this is what we expect to see. This guy, a podcaster who was approached by billionaires to run Iran for some reason. Strangely enough.